Shalom, shalom. Yahweh Shem Yahshua Barakatah. Right, all praises to the Most High. Right, Bashem Yahushai again. Right, Brother Kapash from WFI Europe. Right, or WFI London. Right, with a breakdown on the WFI International channel. And make sure you subscribe for more breakdowns. Right, share the videos, man. Share the breakdowns, Bashem Yahushai, man. Right, just a quick breakdown, man, going into color in the Bible, man. Color, the meanings thereof. Right, I'm not going to go into every color, but you know, the ones that are significant to our understanding. Right, so this is the book of Sirach chapter 5, and I'll start at verse 15. It says, be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or small. So we can't, every precept matters, man. Don't have a mindset of a Christian, man, where you see, oh, that's just spiritual. When it says about keeping the law, that's just spiritual. You don't have to literally do that. And you have to literally do that, man. Because if you're doing that, that's a man that's spiritually minded. That's a woman, child that's spiritually minded. Right? Because they're thinking on the spiritual things. Right? Like it says in Romans 8, those that are carnal, they can't please the Lord. Because they're set on just the carnality of the world. So we can't be ignorant of these things, man. Right? And when it comes to color, don't be ignorant, man. Right? You can't be ignorant, right, of Satan's devices. Right? You can't, because Satan, he's going about, man, and he's lying to the people. He's telling the people, yes, we are the whites. Right? We're white and we're right. Right? This is the book of 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse number, I'll start at verse number 14. It says, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. So, Satan, he will use things to deceive you, man. Use terms and words, and they'll say, yeah, we're the white people. But that's what they'll say, man. And that is just ignorant at its best, right? Willful ignorance. Because when you go into the term white itself, we understand that race, you know, in the ancient world, people weren't looked at by race, man. You was looked at by your seed line and the nation that you descended from, pertaining to your father's seed line. So, you know, today the so-called white man, he will say, okay, yeah, I'm white. Right, he's white, or whatever he'll say. He'll say many things. But when we look at it, the term white has been used as a societal construct. Because when we look at the scriptures, and the idea, which is a white supremacy and racism, has come from taking bits from the Bible and associating with themselves. They'll say, look, I'm white. Yeah, you're black. Right? And our people will walk around with, oh yeah, I'm black in the back of their mind. I'm black and I'm proud. Well, obviously, these things, they hold more power. Obviously, we understand, you know, the meaning behind why they were saying that I'm black and I'm proud, right? But in the negative connotations that it comes with it, right, of saying we're black and they're white and this person's whatever color, man. When really we understand that circle white man, hey, he isn't this color, man. He isn't the color of the page, right? Nor are we the color of this background here, man. Right, and our people come in, again, different shades, man. But again, it pertains to the seed line, right? So we can't be ignorant of these things, man, right? And let me get, because to understand the things of color, right? It's a dark saying, man, right? This is the book of Psalms, right? Chapter 70, I believe 72, right? It's like Psalms chapter 78, and I'll start from verse number 1. It says, give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. So a dark saying, right, is really something that's, you read between the lines. It's harder to be understood just upon the first read, right? It might take a few times to really get the understanding, man, or get the breakdown, man, right? So you really have to, and that really deciphers and separates those that are studying and those that are not, man, right? This is Psalms 49 and verse 3. My mouth will speak of wisdom, and the meditation of my heart shall be of understanding. I will incline my ear to a parable. I will open my dark saying upon the harp. Because this is like music. The word is like a song, man. right? Certain people can perceive the notes that are being used. Certain people, and they sit like this, man, when the word's coming out, man, right? In the church, right, with their hoodie on, at the back like this, right? They don't want to hear the dark sayings. They want to remain in that constant state of simplicity, and not the simpleness that Jacob had in being complete, but the simpleness in being a reprobate, in being backwards, right? In not being filled, man, right? So let's go into that whole point of white, man, and its representation, because white really goes into being pure, right? That's what it means to be a white man, right? Let's get that in Lamentations, right? Let's get Lamentations, right? The classic, right? Everyone knows Lamentations, right? And you have to have skill. You can use this obviously to explain how our people look, but hey, it's deeper than just about the look, man, right? It's deeper than just about the look. Just like Deuteronomy 7:6 is deeper than just, we are faster than everyone. It's going down to ethics, morality, right? Our intelligence, right? It's going down to a lot of things, man, right? So this is Lamentations, right? Chapter 4, and I'll start from verse number 7. It says, her Nazarites were purer than snow. They were whiter than milk, right? They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire, right? So does this mean that they were brown and white, right? Dark and light? Does it mean that? Right? No, it doesn't mean that, man. The white represents their purity, them being full of pureness, right? Because even in a marriage, a woman that the woman wearing white goes back to being undefiled and pure, right? A virgin, right? No blemish, right? That's what really that goes back to you, right? It says, so that white represents purity, and that ruddy really goes into perfection, right? Goes into perfection, and the oil of the Lord resting upon your face, right? Because when you have the oil in the Lord, right, it makes your face shine, man, right? Lord willing, I'll get to that, but that makes your face shine. So having being ruddy, obviously you can use skill to break that down, but it's deeper than that, man, right? So it says, and I'll read verse 8. It says, their visage is blacker than a coal. They are not known in the streets. Their skin cleaveth to their bones. It is withered. It is become like a stick, right? And the reason, remember, this is Lamentations, right? Jeremiah is lamenting about what, man? About the destruction of Israel, that woman, man, right? When and black, you can use the precepts, Judah, Judah mourneth, right? Jeremiah 14, right, and 2, right? But really, that is actually going into famine, right? It's going into famine and affliction, right? And anguish that the Israelites are facing, right? And that's, like it says in Revelation, it tells you about the black horse, man. That's what that represents, right? Famine on the earth, right? So I'll read even verse 9. It says, they that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. For these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field. See that? So that being blacker than a coal, going back to that affliction. Because even, I'll go to that first, right? When you read Jeremiah, right, 14 and 2, right? When we read that, right, what's that going into? It's going into the judgment that they're facing, man, right? Just like when somebody goes pale. When somebody goes pale, right, again, represents fear, maybe worry, stress. You can see that, right? This is Jeremiah 14 and verse 2. I'll start at verse 1. The word of the Lord that came to Jeremiah concerning the doth. Judah mourneth. So Judah is mourning, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up. See that? So the reason why they're black is because of the famine, the spirit of famine that's upon them. And the Most High sends out these spirits, right? And famine, which one of the horses represents in that color of black, that's upon them, Again, you can use this in skill, but again, somebody that's more learned, they're going to confound you, right? But reading on, even verse 3, and their nobles have sent their little ones to the waters. They came to the pits and found no water. They returned with the vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads. See that? So that's why they're black, because of the that mourning that's upon them, man. Right? So when you read the book of Revelation, right, and it tells you about the different horses, man. Right? It tells you about the different horses that are upon the earth that bring a certain destruction, right? You will see that you have the black horse, man. Right? So this is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and I'll start at verse number 5. It says, and when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. Right? And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. See that, right? So that beast represents famine, anguish, affliction, right? Just like there's a spirit to that term or that word black, man. And that's why Esau, he's cunning. He'll use that term because he sees these representations, man. Like he doesn't read the Bible. He reads the Bible. So read the Bible. Oh, black. Yeah, they're going to be called black people. I'm not, you can see I'm not black. Right? The light. See that? See that? The Lord maketh his face to shine upon you, man. Right? The light shining. You can see that's our, like I said about the rubies, man, I believe. Right? I believe these are rubies or sapphires, man. Right? Because when you have the oil upon you and you shine, man. But point being, on the term of black, right? Going into anguish, man. Right? So when that anguish is upon the earth, hey, what do you think happens, man? Right? Famine, anguish, right? Death, right? And that's by the angels, right, of the Most High that are sent out into the world, man. Right? And you see that, man. Certain countries, man, they don't have food. Right? There's that spirit of famine there, man, and anguish and affliction taking place, man. Right? So that's that term of black, man. Right? So let's talk about the term white. Right? The word white. Right? Not just the word white, but its meaning and representation. Right? Let's get Isaiah chapter 1. Right? Isaiah 1. Right? And we'll start at verse 18. Because it even goes into the color red, man. Right? It's Isaiah 1. And I'll start at verse number 18. It says, come now, and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet. Right? So that scarlet, I believe that's like a reddish color. They shall be as white as snow, though they be like Salakia. I'll read it again. Isaiah 1 and 18. Come now and let us reason together, saith the Lord. Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool. What's that going into? That's that purity, man. Right? And yes, the Most High and Yahweh Shai, and they literally have woolly hair. Right? It's spiritual. It's spiritual. Right? And even that term, a woolly head, when you go into these older dictionaries, they'll tell you that's of a Negro. Right? So don't let these apologetics confound you. Oh, well, see. Right? It says woolly hair. Woolly hair. Right? You could go in these dictionaries, man. Right? To prove that. But it says your sins, they're red. Right? And red, that's like Esau, man. Right? Esau, literally, look at his skin and he's red. You can see the blood coming through his skin. Right? It says they shall be white as snow. Be as white as snow, meaning they're going to be pure. They're going to be clean. They're going to be made pure again. Because you was defiled. Right? And even when you go, going into the laws of uncleanness, man. Right? You see that? Right? With the laws of uncleanness, you don't do that, man. right? Don't run no red lights, man. Right? That's completely off. Right? If you're doing that, you need to repent. Right? But this is it's the book of Leviticus, right? Chapter, I'll go to Leviticus chapter 15, right? This is Leviticus chapter 15, and I'll start from verse number, I'll start at verse 19. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the evening. Right, so when your woman's on her cycle, man, right, or her flower, you can't lay down with your woman, right, for 7 days, man. Right, that's a complete amount of time, right, and then, you can lay down with your woman, right? But that whole thing of blood, that's on a physical level, right, pertaining to this verse in Leviticus 15, she would be unclean, right? Just like that in Isaiah 1:18, it says, though they be red, meaning they're unclean, man, right? They're going to be pure, they're going to be cleansed, right? Let's get another precept on that white, man, right? The precept on verses going into white, right? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 51, and I'll start at verse number 7. It says, purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Meaning what? You're going to be pure. So that's the whole point of, applying the precepts. They wash you, they make you clean, they make you white again. Right? Does it mean some white face, right, kind of joke? No. It's talking about you being holy again, man. You being set apart, you being cleansed, your conscience. Because you can physically be cleaned, right? But you're still dirty, man. Right? I seen a brother from I believe the Sons of Thunder, man. Elder Yawa'al. Slakia, right? Right? The Elder Yawa'al, right? He kind of he showed a video where the guy got baptized, came out, and he lit up a crack pipe, man. So that cleaning, that being made white, it's not talking about a literal white, is it? Right? It's being made whole, man. Right? Being cleansed. Because you were dirty. You were unclean. You're filthy. Disgusting. Right? And the Lord has to make you clean again, man. Right? And that's on a spiritual level. And even on a physical level, man. Right? You should groom yourself. Look after yourself. Right? Hygiene. Smell good. Right? So this is the book of Revelations. Right? Chapter 19. And I'll start from verse 8 and we'll jump down. It says, and to her was granted that she should be arrayed. I'll start for context. Right? It's Revelation 19 and I'll start from verse 7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come and his wife have made herself ready. Right? That's talking about Israel. Jeremiah 6:2. Right? Isaiah, I believe 54, and I believe verse 5-6, Israel is that woman, thy husband is thy maker, thy redeemer, I believe it says, right? So Israel is that wife, right? And I'm going to read down. It says, and his wife have made herself ready, verse 8, and to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. So that white is representing righteousness, purity, holiness, being set apart, right? That's what that represents. That's why women in the marriages, and they wear white, man, right? And a marriage is a sacred thing. Don't wear white and then go 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, you see some guy in a bar and you committed adultery, fornication, right? So the purity is more than just on a physical level, right? I'll jump down to verse 11. It's Revelation 19 and 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. Right? And even you read throughout Revelation, it tells you about, and even, I believe, I want to say Zechariah 6. right? I believe it's Zechariah, but you will see throughout the scriptures, it tells you about the different colors, man, different colored horses, and they represent different things, man, right? Different spirits, different colors represents different spirits. Red, destruction. Esau's destruction. Esau is red. It represents destruction, death, murder, sin, perdition, right? All kinds of just freakism, right? That's what he represents, right? And folly, right? That's what he represents, man, right? And then you have, your black, right? Famine, anguish, affliction, right? And you got I believe there's a pale horse, right? With the diverse, I think it's spotted, kind of representing the plagues, man. Different diverse spirits, man, that are sent out, right? But the precept I was looking for, right, I believe it's Zechariah 6, right? Yeah, you see that? Yeah, this is the book of Zechariah, chapter 6, and I'll start at verse number 1. It says, "And I turned and lift up mine eyes and looked, and behold, there came 4 chariots out from between the 2 mountains, and these mountains were mountains of brass. In the first chariot were red horses." So these are chariots, and there's spirits coming out of these chariots, man. And these spirits, obviously, they're going into angels, right? And in the second, black horses. And in the third chariot, white horses. And in the fourth chariot, grizzled and bay, right? So these spirits, man, right? I jump down to verse 5. It says, "And the angel answered and said unto me, These are the 4 spirits of the heavens, which go forth from standing before the Lord of all the earth." See that? So they'll go to the 4 corners, man. That's why you have in certain places, man, right? Brothers like the brothers in W5 Chicago, man. They call it Chirac. It's got a spirit to it because it's just like you're in Iraq, man. Certain places, even in the UK, man, Murder Mile, right? Brixton, right? Some places they call it Gaza, right? You have the literal place Gaza. You have certain places the term Gaza because it's just known. They call it a gunland, man. So there's certain places in the world they have spirits on them. That's why in that area of the middle, so-called Middle East, you have many diverse spirits there, man. People getting bombed. You see the videos, man, on these Telegram chats, man. People getting bombed, explosions happening, all kinds of spirits being set to and fro in the earth, man. Right, and that's in Genesis. It tells you about Jacob saw that ladder, man. The angels going up and down, round and about the earth, right, looking and seeing who they can tempt, as well as putting spirits upon people to maybe a murder spirit, man. Right, blow stuff up. That's what they do, right? So it says, that's in Zechariah 6. So back to Revelation 19 and verse 11. "And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doeth judge and make war." Right? So you see that? So he literally, right, is going into Yahushua, being that one that sat upon that white horse, man. And that represents righteousness, right? Not like a so-called America, man. Right, these Babylonians, man, kidnapping presidents, right, posting it up and saying, yeah, look, and then tweeting and say, yeah, look what we done. He oppresses, man, right? So it says, point being, that white, again, horse goes into that righteousness and the purity, right? That's what that white represents, man. Right, just like you see in Revelation, right? It says about let's go even to Daniel 7, right? Even go to Daniel 7, right? When you read Daniel 7, it tells you about, obviously, the Most High having right? It's Daniel 7, and I'll start at verse number 9. "And I beheld till the thrones were cast down." So that's the thrones of these so-called nations, right? Their powers and principalities that they set up. It says those thrones are going to be cast down. Thus saith the Bible. "And the Ancient of Days did sit." So the Most High, if he can sit down, God, yes, the Most High is a spirit, right? The spirit that he has, he's able to sit down. It's not difficult to understand, right? And the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool, and his throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as a burning fire. Right? So, you see that? The Most High, he's wearing a pure woolly a garment that's white, representing, that's that complete pureness, man, complete holiness, set apart, right? So white and its connotations via the scriptures is representing righteousness, holiness, right? And what about being ruddy, right? Is everyone just ruddy? Right, and we know, Genesis 25, man, right? Esau is red, and that red represents, right? Before we get ruddy, right? This is back to Revelation, right? This is Revelation chapter 6. And that red, it goes into as well, it's incomplete as well, man, right? Rather that red that Esau has, destruction, incompletion, right, death, that's the spirit that he brings, but this is Revelation chapter 6, and I'll start at verse number 3. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, come and see. So these seals, we can see these seals opening, man, upon the earth, right? Don't be surprised when you see certain things happening in the world, man. The seals are opening, meaning these spirits, man, they're going to be loosed into the earth, right? Reading on, it says, verse 4, it says, and there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon. So power, just like the Most High gave to Satan, here's power over Job. Most High gives power to these spirits to go out and cause confusion, death, destruction, famines, afflictions. He sends these things out, man. Right? It says, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. You see that? And Esau's got a great sword, man. That's why he's a hunter. That's why you got to stay away from that, man. Right? And even when I've done a breakdown on this, in our Sabbath class, that's why the context supersedes etymology, right? When you look at the Blue Letter Bible, it tells you about the word white in a specific verse. I don't know what verse it was, but there's no meaning for it, man. I believe it was for Numbers 12. Right, so before I go to Numbers 12, it told that a red represents death. Death, famine. Well, not death, famine. It represents death, like it says about that sword. Right, and destruction. Right, this is Revelation 12, real quick. Right, and I'll read verse number. It's Revelation 12 and verse 3. It says, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. So that great red dragon, right, that's going into it's going to Esau, as well as it going into Herod, the so-called great, because he persecuted Israel, in that time, the massacre of the innocents, where everyone that was 2 years old and under, that was an Israelite, they were, if they were found, they were slaughtered. Right, this is what that's going into. Right, so he's red. He's that red dragon. Right, and he represents, when you read it in verse 4, it says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars. Right, and the stars being, I believe, Genesis 15 or 16, when Abraham given that prophecy that his children, they'll be as the stars, and you can't count the stars. Right, it says, and his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth, And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. So that's the spirit that Esau moves in, man. Right, and that goes right back to Cain. Right, Cain has that same mentality, man. Murder on his mind, man. Right, he has that same mentality, that same spirit. Right, that's pretty much ingrained into him. That's why he does what he does. That's why he colonized Elam. He colonized the whole world, right? So, back quick point on that term white, right? This is Numbers, right? Chapter 12, right? And verse number, I'll read from verse 10. It said, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Right? So that was judgment from the Most High for what they had done. Right? They received judgment. Most High judged them. Oh, Aaron and Miriam. Right? And when you read on, Aaron says, alas, alas. Right? I read on verse 11. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed, when he cometh out of his mother's womb. So the flesh being half consumed, that's a curse, right? But I believe if you go into the Strongs of this word here, it won't tell you what it is. It'll just say white. But every other definition, and that's why you can't trust that blue letter Bible to the full extent, man, because I believe it's the word for Adam, and Adam, red and ruddy, they all mean the same thing, right? So let's go into that point of ruddy, right? Let's go into that point. And when you read 2 Kings, right? See, too many precepts, right? When you read the 2 Kings, 2 Kings 5 and 27, it says, the leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee, and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper, white as snow. So again, that's why people about how Esau mixed with all these nations. But just like with Gehazi, who tried to take the gift that was supposed to be given to Elisha, he was cursed. To his seed, doesn't matter who they mix with. They might mix with the Elamites. They might mix with the Canaanites, or the Jebusites, or whoever. Their seed is gonna cleave to his seed forever, right? So that's why you can see Esau, and they say Esau is going extinct, man. They're so worried, right, about this mixing thing, man. Because back in the days, right, a lot of the Jakes, man, that you're watching this, man, right? You're so happy. Oh yeah, look at me and her, or even you ease. Oh, I'm with a Edomite. Hey, you gotta think twice about that, man. Right? Because essentially, you're gonna build. Hey, man, you should build with your own. Right? Let's just put it like that. Right? But Esau, yeah, again, I was gonna say, man. Hey, maybe even in the UK, man. Maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 40, 50 years ago. You couldn't be doing that, let alone in Babylon the Great, right? And so could America. You couldn't be doing that, right? Look what happened to Emmett Till, man, right? He didn't even whistle at the lady, and they strung him up and they killed that poor boy, right? So maybe Esau, he changes, he mixes. Hey, just like Gehazi, hey, that's on his seed forever. Just like when you read Genesis, it tells you that the Most High put a mark on Cain, man. That mark is leprosy. So you know to stay away from that. Right? You know, yeah, that's off. And, because Esau, he hasn't paid for his what he's done. Right? He actually hasn't paid. Some people saying, oh, wait, did Esau pay for what he done? Let me think. They're still thinking. Right? But he hasn't. So that's the mark that's been put upon him. Right? That's that judgment. Right? When you read Genesis 4 and I believe 14 on down. Right? And then let's get that term ruddy. Right? This is 1 Samuel. Right? We'll get 1 Samuel with the account of David. right? Because really that really goes into that perfection, man. Right, but again, you could use this to if you have skill, like it says in Daniel 1 and I believe 4, man. These children who there was no blemish, and they had skill, wisdom in the sciences, the knowledge, right? This is 1 Samuel chapter 16, right? 1 Samuel 16, and I'll start at verse. And that being ruddy goes back to having oil as well, right? Some people in the truth, they're dry. You remember, in Israel, man, right? Your mother, when you was younger, you're getting ready for school, right? She'll damn cream your face, man, right? She'll damn do that, right? To the point you're confounded. You're just sweating, right? But when you look back at them pictures, man, and your face is glowing, right? This is 1 Samuel chapter 16, and I'll start from verse number 1 Samuel 16, and I'll start from verse 12. Right, there's so many precepts in there, to be fair. There's 2 precepts there, right, I believe. I'll read verse 12. 1 Samuel 16 and 12. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and withal of a beautiful countenance and goodly to look to. And the Lord said, arise and anoint him, for this is he. So that's going, it says, of a beautiful countenance. When you're, like it says in Sirach 25 from 1, for 3 things the Lord is beautified by these things. So, his countenance was ruddy, man. And being he stood out, man. Right? Remember, I believe it said Jesse, I believe he had, was it a total of 7 sons? Right? Let me see. Right, he had many sons, man. I believe Jesse, he had many sons. Right, and David was the youngest. Right, I don't know if it was 7. Right, yeah, it is. It's 1 Samuel 16 and 10. Again, Jesse made 7 of his sons to pass before Samuel. And Samuel said unto Jesse, the Lord have not chosen these. Right? So David, he was the ruddiest of them all, man. Right? Of a beautiful countenance. Right? So that oil of the Lord, that was upon him, man. His face shone. Right? Or shined. Right? It's English. Right? Because even when you look at it, man, when you look at Matthew 17, right? And the Lord's face was ruddy. Right? And yes, the Lord was a black man, right? So-called black man. Before they clip it and they say, oh, right? But this is Matthew chapter 17. And I'll start from verse 2. It says, and he was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. See that? So that purity. And again, if your face is shining and you have the oil of the Lord upon you, man. Right? You have the oil of the Lord that's poured out upon you. Right? If you don't have no oil, you don't have wisdom. Right? Just like you read Matthew 25, you have the 5 virgins that didn't have oil and the 5 virgins that did. You want to be that virgin, right? That's without blemish, not taken by, doesn't mean he literally didn't lay down with woman. Right? Because Peter's the elect and he had a wife. Right? It means not taken by these different doctrines, man, that are lurking and swimming around, man. Oh, wow. You're easily beguiled by some strange woman, man. Right? Just on the side. Well, we're not in the UK, man. On the sidewalk and that, man. Or on the pavement. We call it the pavement in the UK. Right? But she's just on the pavement or by the wayside. Right? That's a term we can all understand. Right? So Yahushua, he was transfigured, meaning he had his face shone, man. So when you're ruddy and your face shines, right, you have a beautiful countenance. Right? And Israel, right, we are the most in our perfected state. Right? And we're beautiful. Right? This is Psalms. Right. What did I want? Did I want Psalms? All right. This is Psalms chapter 50 and verse 2. It says, out of Zion, the perfection of beauty, Yahweh have shined. See that? So the perfection of beauty comes out of Zion. But when Zion's lamenting, hey, they're black, they're not ruddy. Right? They're supposed to be pure, like it says, white as snow. Right? And pure. But then they don't have that. When we're not in our perfected state. Hey, we're ugly, man. We're disgusting. Right? Our spirit's off. Right? But when we are in our perfected state, man, of beauty, hey, we're beautiful, man. How we treat each other, right? See that? Right, madness. All praise to the Most High. Alright. So this is, I'll quickly get back to that Lamentations. Right, this is Lamentations chapter 4, where it says their bodies are more 4 and 7. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Madness. Right, I've got to switch on the engine, man. Madness. Right, but hey, all praise to the Most High. Right, so it says that their bodies were more ruddy than rubies, man. And rubies, they're kind of, they glow. Obviously, they're red, you know what I'm saying? They shine. Right, so really, that's going into that shining, man. Right? Let me get that precept in the book of Esther. Right? Because when you read Esther, it tells you that hey, she was ruddy. And it mentions her beautiful countenance, man. Right? This is Esther chapter 15 and verse number 5. It says, and she was ruddy through the perfection of her beauty, and her countenance was cheerful and very amiable, but her heart was in anguish for fear. So she was scared. When you read Esther 4 and 11, it tells you why she was scared, because the king, hey, if you came before the king and he didn't tell you nothing, hey, he's gonna kill you. Right? The king, they would put you to death, except he rose up the golden scepter. Right? So reading on, it says, when you read verse 6, it says, then having passed through all the doors, she stood before the king, who sat upon his royal throne, and was clothed with all his robes of majesty, all glittering with gold and precious stones, and he was very dreadful. Right? Verse 7, then lifting up his countenance that shone with majesty, he looked very fiercely upon her, and the queen fell down and was pale and fainted and bowed herself upon the head of the maid that went before her. So meaning what, man? When she was pale, does that mean she was an Edomite? No, because it's the fear that she had, right? She had fear. So that ruddy, going back to the perfection, man, in beauty, man. That's our people, man. Right? Beautiful and ruddy. Right? In our complexion. You have these women and men, yeah, they think they're the best and they look this, whatever. But really being ruddy in your completion and perfection, you're beautified by these laws, statutes, and commandments, which is your oil, man. Right? Real quick, this is Numbers, right? I don't go too long with it, but this is Numbers, right? In the classic, man. Numbers chapter 6, man. Right? And verse number 4. Right? That's not the precept I want, but it's 24. Numbers 6 and 24. Right? This is Numbers 6 and verse number 24. Right? It reads, the Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Because, hey, that oil, hey, that would make your face shine. So you can't lack, if you don't have oil, I ain't gonna make it, man. Right? You ain't gonna, and oil, right?